So thank you for joining. And so really, I just wanted to start by saying this is an image of our team responsible for delivering the MSc in the conservation of contemporary art, and also a lovely picture of our current cohort, plus a special younger guest. Brian Castriota and Libby Ireland are both lecturers in the MSc of the Conservation of Contemporary Art and Media, and Libby has a focus on sculpture and installation art, and Brian has a focus on time-based media works of art. Valentina Rizdone and Fergus O'Connor are coordinators of our labs. Valentina is responsible for the 7th floor conservation lab, and Fergus for our media conservation studio. Finally, Rosie Price-Cousins is our dedicated teaching and learning administrator. We're all based at Marshgate and are part of the larger UCL History of Art department, most of whom are based at Bloomsbury. Both Valentina and Brian will be joining the meeting just to say a little bit about themselves when they join. They'll say a little bit more. So I came to UCL from a 30-year career as a conservator of contemporary art, mainly at Tate, first from 1992 as a sculpture conservator, and then I went on to establish and lead Tate's time-based media conservation section until 2010, when I took up a role of head of collection care research at Tate. I bring to the program the experience of working at the cutting edge of contemporary art conservation within a major institution for 30 years. I have international connections with a range of institutions and individuals worldwide. So contemporary art and media are all around us, in our museums, in our parks, in our public spaces, in our private collections, and even on our mobile phones. On the right here is a work by Yinka Shonibari, a British-Nigerian artist, commissioned to create this work for the 4th plinth in Trafalgar Square. And on the left is a work by the art duo Thompson and Craighead, which is actually in UCL's current student center. And this work draws on live data about the students which are represented at UCL, the countries represented by UCL's current student body, and on the right are those not currently represented. And to me, both of these are wonderful examples of complex conservation challenges. London has a vibrant art scene with many galleries, art spaces, and museums. And currently, contemporary art and media is not the focus of any other programs in the UK. And with UCL's international focus, we're also well placed to support training for students from countries which have growing collections of contemporary artworks and growing art markets, but lack people with the skills to support such growth. The materials, technologies, and practices of contemporary art exploded in the 20th century and continue to expand as artists push the boundaries to respond to changing technologies in the 21st century. This program is addressing a skills gap that is felt around the world. To develop strategies to care for these works of art, we need to train for the next generation of leaders in the field of contemporary art conservation, not only to respond to the needs of art of our time, but also to do so in a way that speaks to the challenges of caring for collections in the 21st century. So what is the conservation of contemporary art and media? Well, the International Council of Museums describes conservation as all the measures and actions aimed at safeguarding tangible and intangible cultural heritage, ensuring its accessibility to present and future generations. In contemporary art terms, this often means working to continue to make a work displayable. Working out what is important to preserve about a work is complex, especially if that artwork is vulnerable due to rapid change or inherent material instability or obsolescence. So these decisions are made in close collaboration with artists and their representatives, as well as others with expertise about the work, whether that's art historians and curators, or those with technical expertise, such as technicians and scientists. Increasingly, as a field, we are also working with a wide range of disciplines to help us think better about these decisions, including philosophy, anthropology, science and technology studies, computer science, memory studies, geography, and a wide range of material scientists. So it really is a truly interdisciplinary field. Contemporary art conservation can take on many forms. For example, in this project, working with the British artist Catherine Yass and Professor Heidi Geismer, who's a social anthropologist, as well as the director for the School of Creative and Cultural Industries here at UCL East, conservators, registrars and curators at Tate and the V&A, we explored the infrastructure of skills, materials and technologies underpinning contemporary art photography to understand how this impacted decisions to reprint damaged works or works where the color or tonal balance of the photograph had shifted. This is an image from a very different project related to the acquisition of an experimental music and film work by Tony Conrad from 1972 called 10 Years Alive on the Infinite Plane. Tony Conrad was notoriously anti-score, and the work had to be performed in many different configurations during his lifetime. Here, to conserve the work, we needed to understand, using techniques derived from memory studies, how we might transmit this work after the death of the artist. The project involved not only new performers, but also those who performed and curated the work since it was first performed at the Kitchen in New York in 1972. So these are just examples of complex projects that involve considerable research. However, the daily work of a conservator often involves making complex decisions. For time-based media works of art, this involves understanding how a work of art was made, what's important to preserve, checking the quality of the material, and understanding the technological dependencies of a work, understanding its display parameters and how those might unfold, and planning for its migration, virtualization, or emulation. This might involve video, film, 35mm slides, audio, software, computer-based art, or performance, and will always involve discussing the issues with the artist or their representatives and those who have a range of different types of expertise about the work. For sculptural objects and installations, conservators must understand the materials and how they might change over time and the artist's views of those changes. What treatment and maintenance means very much depends on the nature of the object. Conservation is a profession that balances the scientific and humanities-based approaches to solve the challenges of caring for tangible and intangible heritage. It is becoming an increasingly reflective and self-aware field, embracing different theoretical frameworks, including new materialism, the ethics of care, and thinking from broader fields about maintenance and repair. And it is reflecting on the way in which colonial thinking underpins conservation practice and what it means to practice as a conservator of heritage in the face of the climate crisis. This program sits within the Faculty of Social and Historical Sciences, and for me that really speaks to conservation being attentive, responsible and skilled in relation to our ability to seek out different voices and perspectives and experiences to inform our decision making. So the program is based at UCL East, which is in the Olympic Park in Stratford in East London. Two buildings make up the UCL East campus. There's Poole Street, which you can see on your left, and Marsh Gate on the right, which is where we join you from today. The other buildings you can see in this photograph are the edge of the Aquatic Centre on the left. So this is an Olympic pool and is open to the public. So if you're a keen swimmer, this is right on your doorstep. And on the right is Anish Kapoor's Orbit Tower, which houses Kirsten Holler's artwork Slide from 2016. At 178 meters long, it's the world's tallest and longest tunnel slide and offers 40 seconds descent, 12 twists and turns, and speeds up to 24 kilometers an hour. So one from the thrill seekers among you. Here are some of the images of outside the building designed by architect Stanton Williams. And this is an image of the main atrium with Larry Achapong and David Blandy's sculptures, The Trial of Time. The program has 2 dedicated spaces, the Objects Lab on the 7th floor, which is where I am at the moment with Valentina, and a Media Lab on the ground floor. In addition, the program, In addition, the program has access to a range of other amazing facilities on site, including the Institute of Making, the Light Fabrication Workshop, and the Innovation Lab, the Wet Lab, and also object-based learning facilities. This MSc in the Conservation of Contemporary Art and Media is designed to fill a current gap within provision, not only in the UK, but also internationally. The program will specialise in sculpture, installation art, and time-based media works of art, and contemporary design objects. Essentially, what we cover are artworks that are not a painting or a work of art on paper in any straightforward sense. Time-based media artworks use videos, sound, slides, films, software, or performance in a medium. Often they form part of complex installations. Contemporary art conservation, in fact, I think conservation generally is committed to lifelong learning, as every object and every artwork is different, and the artists continue to experiment with new materials and new practices of art making. And the field continues to evolve. So the aim is for this program to train and support students to be able to start their careers in this exciting and dynamic area of conservation, and prepare them to go into the workplace with excellent skills and knowledge and be able to approach complex conservation problems. We also expect you to be able to participate in conversations about the major issues of the day as they affect the heritage sector. This is an intensive 2-year taught MSc where you will develop hands-on skills and complex problem-solving abilities, as well as understanding the key debates, theoretical and ethical developments in the field. So just to give you a quick overview of the program, in the first year, there are 2 modules which are covered over the first 2 terms. So the first is Conserving Complexity, so the conservation of contemporary artworks, which looks at the principles of contemporary art conservation, including preventive conservation, documentation, risk assessment, and artist interviews, as well as sessions on specific technologies. The second is Examining and Analysing Artworks. This will cover the visual and material examination of a range of materials and types of artwork. Students will learn to use common analytical tools such as FTIR, Raman, and XRF. They will learn to examine objects under different light sources and also learn a little about microscopy. They will also learn to use software such as QC tools for examining video artworks, and learn to condition check 16mm film and be introduced to how computer code is examined. In the first term, the students also study the module, The Science of Contemporary Materials, which will explore key principles of chemistry, focusing specifically on how they are observed in the deterioration of contemporary materials. In term 2, we have an innovative module called Communicating Conservation, which will look at how conservation has been and is communicated. And here you will be able to develop an exhibit in the Culture Lab, or a video, or a media story, or a story in some other medium. In term 3 of the first year, we have a module called Advanced Seminar in the Conservation of Contemporary Art and Media, and this is designed in partnership with the V&A. You will be presented with real-world challenges from the Conservation Department of the V&A, and we will work in teams to develop strategies and solutions to address these challenges. It could be anything: conservation of mixed media sculpture, a deteriorating neon artwork, or the conservation of a 3D printed object. Studio practice is, of course, core to everything we do, and all of the core modules involve studio practice. This might be individual or team project work. However, in term 3, you'll have the chance to specialize between time-based media or sculpture and installation art. Your studio practice is also formally assessed in your work in term 3. Also, each year you will choose from 2 optional modules. These might be from the MA core course or undergraduate program in art history. They might be a language module or UCL East wide courses on topics such as those focused on sustainability and decision making or entrepreneurship, or program specific modules allowing students specialist training in a particular area, such as the conservation of performance art or the conservation of kinetic art. In the second year, the students start with a placement in term 1 and then work on a research project culminating in their dissertations in terms 2 and 3. And there's also the option in that second year to take an additional program-specific module. And throughout the 2 years, we also offer core skills workshops, either as part of modules or as optional sessions. Partnerships are obviously incredibly important for this program, and UCL has a memorandum of understanding with the V&A. Given the proximity of V&A East and their storehouse project, we're really excited to be developing this close and far-ranging partnership. We are also developing a close partnership with Tate and a number of other institutions in North America, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Europe. In addition to museums, the program was also developing relationships with for the program with conservators and conservation firms in private practice. In addition to partners who can provide first-class placement opportunities, we're also in conversation with those who have collections, but not large conservation staff or expertise in the conservation of contemporary art and time-based media work. And the aim is to bring those works to UCL East for student projects. So the entry requirements are a 2-1 honours degree, either a BA, a BASc, or a BSc, or importantly, it might be equivalent experience that might come from a wide range of relevant disciplinary backgrounds. We're unique in providing a part-time track, which will perhaps suit those who are a bit stuck as a technician or assistant conservator and need a formal qualification to progress, or those in more generic arts and heritage roles who want to specialize, or also those who just have been working for a while and really want to specialize in modern and contemporary art conservation. This is very much an international program, attracting international students as well as those from the UK. And we are keen to work with students from those countries with growing needs for skills in this area. The MSc in the Conservation of Contemporary Art and Media is interdisciplinary, object-based, problem-led and industry-facing conservation program. Although some of you may go on to study for a doctorate, this MSc is a vocational 2-year training for those who want to go on and work in the conservation of contemporary art and media or related fields. Just to say that the program will take a maximum of 12 students a year, and the intention is to tailor it as much as possible to the background and interests of those joining the program. And you'll be working from day 1 on real objects with real conservation challenges, and you'll have access to both Bloomsbury and UCL East campuses. There are job opportunities in the UK and internationally in museums, private practice and in galleries, artist studios, private collectors and commercial sector. For those specialising in time-based media conservation, there are also opportunities to work with a range of different types of archive. In terms of scholarships and bursaries, UCL scholarships are all listed on the page, which I've put the URL up for on this page. There's also a dedicated UCL East bursary. The programme has been approved by the Anna Plowden Trust, who offer grants towards fees, and there are also Quest scholarships. So Quest is an organisation that has funded conservation training. If you want to find out more about the program, do feel free to email me. My email's on the screen. And also do have a look at our departmental webpage, which contains a bit more information than the prospectus about the program. So I think that is everything from me. Before we take questions, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Valentina, and then we're going to hear a little bit from Brian. So just bear with me.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7th floor at Marshgate. We are in the conservation laboratory. My name is Valentina Ristone. I'm a conservation laboratory coordinator of this fantastic new lab. I am a conservation scientist by training. I also work as scientist at the Victorian Art Museum. And I'm here today just to show you a little bit about what we've been doing in the lab, what we have, and what are the possibilities. So, first of all, I should mention why science and conservation. The role of science related to conservation practice is mostly for the understanding of materials. If we understand more about material, how they made and what they made of, we are able to better understand deterioration and possible causes of it. So this improves our ability to conserve, but also to apply preventative measures and making decisions about storage and display. Here on the table, we have a few examples of things we've been doing with the students. We have an object, a portion of an object of the Tree of Time that Pip showed you is in the hall at Marshgate. And I'm sorry, it's the table white on white. You can't really see that, but we still will be in 3D scanning and 3D printing the object in order to replicate it and evaluating how good the quality of the replicas are. Other things I have here on the table are fibers and objects, plastic objects from the DNA reference collection, plastic reference collection. These are objects that were purchased not necessarily as part of the collection, but as an example of deteriorating plastics. So we have plastic objects that became brittle or something like that. Is a little bit of a spooky doll that went under deterioration with a typical damage that is the darkening of the plastic due to the UV light damage. Equipment that we can use to characterize materials, in particular plastics, can be colorimeters to evaluate the color of the surface of the gloss, portable Raman, and portable FTIR that in the corner for the characterization of the plastic, or also simple observation with a microscope. Not necessary for plastic, but another type of portable instrument is the XRF, X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. This is for elemental analysis and can be used for other type of applications. We also been using other type of tools, not necessarily analytical, but more based on sensorial experience, like the plastic identification tool that allows us to identify plastics by smell, look, consistency, and so on. These are all portable instruments, so they are designed for the students and conservators. They might work not necessarily in large institutions, but also studio practice, in private practice, and similar spaces. And I guess that's it for me.
Great, thank you very much. I think we are now going to join Brian.
Hello, hi. So my name's Brian Kestrita. I'm a lecturer in conservation of contemporary art and media on our MSc. And my teaching primarily focuses on time-based media elements of the program. So I was trained initially as an objects conservator and a conservator of archaeological materials. Like many of our colleagues, I moved into contemporary art and time-based media conservation from there. So I teach on the MSc part-time, and the rest of my time I work as a time-based media conservator at the National Gallery Scotland in Edinburgh. And I also work as a freelance conservator for the Irish Museum of Modern Art in Dublin. So I'm sitting here, as you can see, in our media conservation studio, also in the Marshgate building. And this is a dedicated lab space for staff and students on our MSc. So the infrastructure here that you see, it mirrors state of practice, museum grade, time-based media conservation lab spaces that you'd find in a museum of contemporary art. So as you can see, we've got a rack of equipment, and this is primarily for condition assessing and digitization of a range of analog and digital video formats, including both legacy tape-based and optical media formats like U-matic, Betacam, Digibeta, VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, all the way up to 4K video, digital file-based video. And you can see right now we're viewing a work by Willie Dougherty. It's a two-channel video installation work from 1993, and it's one of our student projects this year on loan from IMA. So we also have a range of reference monitors, CRT, LCD, OLED, and these are all used for condition assessing the diverse range of video formats that I talked about. The space also has 3 computers. We've got 2 Mac computers, one of which is the heart of our playback and digitization workstation that you see there. We also have a PC and bootable in Windows and Linux. And this workstation is primarily used for disk imaging and investigating software-based artworks. So on top of that, we also have a range of equipment and tools in here for viewing and condition assessing film and slide-based artworks, such as film winders, light tables, and various projectors. So one of the classes that I teach is the time-based media module of examining and analyzing artworks. So conservation, examination, and analysis are an ever-evolving set of methods used to produce knowledge about artworks and other cultural heritage items and media that they consist of, with the aim of informing interventions related to their preservation and their perpetuation. So in this module, our students are learning about the diversity of media and materials employed in the production of contemporary art and creative practices, the common methods of their examination and analysis for conservation purposes, and the ways in which both methods of examination and analysis are entangled with and constitutive of the knowledge that's generated. So in the first term, they're introduced to some of the common tools and methods employed by conservators to know and care for time-based media artworks. And these are artworks that include works with moving image, sound, slide, and film software, as well as live performance, and also the critical debates that surround these practices. So this class is delivered through a mix of seminar, lecture, and practical hands-on sessions where students learn about the different and common methods and tools used in conservation. So this includes, for example, how to identify physical carriers, the use of video scopes and different quality control software, metadata extraction software and emulation software, taking room acoustic measurements and mitigating room modal resonances for an installed audiovisual artwork, identifying film bases, examining slide dissolve programming, assessing film shrinkage and degradation. And these are just to name a few. And as I was mentioning before, as part of this module, students also have access to real world artworks to carry out their own examinations. And this term, students are looking at a range of artworks and artwork components, which are on loan to us from Innova here in London, as well as the Irish Museum of Modern Art. So now I'm going to take you out into a culture lab, which is the space just adjacent to the Media Conservation Studio. And you can see, we'll take a look at one of our hands-on sessions from earlier today. So this is Culture Lab. This is a mixed use exhibition space and a teaching space as well. And that's exactly how we were using it today, actually. This is Fergus O'Connor, who is our Media Conservation Studio coordinator. And we have set up here for you all to take a look at. This is a 35 millimeter slide dissolve installation. We were taking a look at some of the slides themselves on the light table here. We've also set up two 35 millimeter slide projectors. And this is a work from the collection of the Irish Museum of Modern Art that I worked on as a conservator, and it's now on loan to us in a teaching capacity. And so we were exploring some of the issues that arise with slide dissolve installations. We were looking at specifically, the obsolete technology that that these require. In this case, this slide dissolve unit here. We also have set up here an iBook from about 20 years ago, and on there we have the original programming, programming that we created a few years ago to sort of rehabilitate this artwork. And so students were looking at how this programming was used both historically and how it might be worked with by contemporary conservators. Yeah, Fergus, do you want to say a few words?
I'll just introduce myself. I'm Fergus O'Connor, so I'm the technical coordinator here in the Media Conservation Studio. And yeah, it's been a really interesting day. Great to get involved with the slide projectors. It's a really super interesting area, something I'm quite passionate about anyway. So yeah, it's been good, and yeah, hope to maybe see some of you at some point in the future.
Great. Well, we'll pass it back to you guys upstairs.
Lovely. Thank you, Brian.